The most important thing about making a Blxst type beat is the drum bounce, and in this video I'm using two beats that I made to show you how you can inject his unique sound into your drum bounce and your samples. Let's go! Now, a cool thing about his unique sound is that he curated it himself. You can go to his YouTube channel and check out his series The Cook Up, where he's cooking up some good food, but you can see that he's also actively producing the beats and the songs that we hear him on. So that tells us that he has a unique and personalized sound, which is super dope. So let's talk about those beats. I got two guitar samples which I played with my trusty Stratocaster back there, and I built some beats around them. We're going to talk about the chord progression, we're going to talk about the sound, the processing, and the drums, of course. Let's head into the first beat. So if you want to use guitar samples in your beat, you really need to start thinking about the guitar tone and the way it sits in your mix. Me personally, I love a clean tone for a Stratocaster, and Archetype Corey Wong by Neural DSP helped me achieve just that. After that, I busted out Ozone's multiband compressor, Ozone Dynamics, really to help me tame the frequencies a little bit, and I unleashed an 1176 emulation from IQ Multimedia to really help me compress it just a little bit more. After that, I unleashed a little bit of EQ, really take out the low ends, have it sit in the mix a little bit better. Now, I did have Spaced Out by Baby Audio on the channel, but I decided to take it off because it really wasn't fitting, but I did use it on the other guitar samples that I used, but more on that later. Wanted to give the sample a bit more body, so I took out a key patch and a pad patch from Pigments, and I played the main 3 chords from the chord progression. After that, I processed them, mostly using EQ and Shaper Box, but for the pad I also added Choral, Phases, and Crystallizer by Soundtoys. And the last thing that I added to my sample was another batch of guitar loops. Not played by me, I did get them off of Splice, there's no shame in that. I just simply felt that my guitar loop was good, but it lacked movement, and the samples that I picked added just that. But wait, beautiful folks, let's take a step back and let me tell you about the sample. What I tried to do with this sample is try to invoke some smoothness, but also that West Coast laid backness, that mellowness, which is something that you get from the guitar sample, of course, and the way that I processed it, but also the way that it's being laid with the guitar samples and the keys and the pads. So I did it deliberately, so don't go looking for guitar samples and then slapping all your shit onto that. No, you got to inject that classic patented West Coast vibe and then mix it with the soulfulness, the jazziness, and the bluesiness of the R&B vibe that you're trying to create. Alright, so let's finally talk about those drums. In terms of sounds, basically any kick, snare, and rim, specifically rim, because Blxst is no stranger to claps, but he loves his rim shots. Any rim shot will basically do, but there's something that you really need to look out for in his drum beats, and that's the swing that he introduces with the way that he times his kicks and his bass together. The first thing that I actually want to talk about is the use of bass. Now, if you listen to Blxst music, his bass is oftentimes super melodic, so there's no just laying down the root notes of the chords that you're playing, there's actually passing notes, there's actually some kind of melody that is accentuating the sample that he's already using. So that's a tip that I want to give y'all. Do not sleep on your bass, make it melodic, make it stand out, give it some passing notes, give it a couple of glide notes. Now, one thing that you're going to notice when listening to the beats that Blxst uses is that the kick and the bass are basically best friends, and they oftentimes play at the same time. So
later might be now, but it's more to come. Said it's more to come. I need you to be about me. If you never caught off, not one day, and I'm still on my hold you tight. Yeah, cause what we built ain't overnight.
So what you can do is this: you can lay down a kick pattern, get your swing going on, get your drum groove going on, and then proceed to have your bass notes play at the same time. Then try and play with the note link. Or you can lay down your bass, have it be melodic, introduce some passing notes, and then try to build your kick pattern around that. It'll definitely help your bass. And one thing that I like doing is play with the length of the notes that I'm using. Sometimes I've alternate between longer notes and short stabby notes. It really helps introduce some kind of bounce to your bass, which is really dope. And one thing about that kick pattern, beautiful people, you cannot afford to have a static, boring kick pattern in the blast type beat. You gotta play with everything that happens in between the beats. So that means that no, you cannot get away by just placing your kicks on the beat. Place them a little bit offbeat, add some swing, syncopate them a little bit. You got to have that West Coast bounce, and bounce is basically the key word of the beat, as I said in the beginning. So we're heading into the second beat, beautiful people, which I feel is a little bit more quintessential blast than the last one, but still, it's a good beat. I played the guitar sample with my trusty Stratocaster right over there, and I did a lot with the layering, but you're about to find out. Now I do want to talk about the chord progression a little bit, beautiful people. You can see in Blxst beat that, there's a lot of influences for neo soul guitar in his beats, but I want to emphasize you can also get away by just playing the basics, which is what I did, because when you look at the chord progression that I've got right here, it is basically all minor 7 and major 7 chords with an occasional dominant or a diminished or an augmented thrown in between, but you can get away if you do not know any advanced neo soul techniques. It's about the vibe at the end of the day. And speaking about the vibe, this beat has a more up-tempo, uplifting and inspirational vibe, which still has that classic West Coast smoothness and that R&B flavor that Blxst is known for. And I recorded a couple of VSTs to help me do just that, mainly the Mini V, 2 Mellotrons and the Piano V, all from the V collection. And what I've got for y'all right now is a Mellotron and a Piano V supplementing the sample with some good chords. Oh wow, not me forgetting to mention that I actually had a whirly in the sample. But nonetheless, let's head into the drums. Basically, the same shit that I said in the previous beat applies for this beat right here, but I kind of forgot to mention that if you really want to spice up your bass pattern, be it, a bass patch or an 808, you can actually experiment with slides, which is what I did for this beat right here. Also, there's a little tip that I want to give for kicks in blast type beats or kicks in general. If you want to add a little bit more boominess or thumpiness, give your kick a little bit more body, try experimenting with a transient shaper plugin. I think FL Studio has a stock one, but you can use the one by Softtube, the one by Native Instruments. I like using the one that I got with Neutron Free from Isotope. A transient shaper will help you give your kick a bit more body and shape the sound to your liking, or so that it fits the kind of beat that you're making. Also, last but not least, beautiful people, I want to emphasize that if you want to inject some classic West Coast flavor into your beats, you gotta have your drum right, you gotta have your vibe right, but you can also just introduce one of those classic P-Funk, G-Funk leads, which is what I tried to do with the Mini V, and I'm gonna play it for y'all again so you can see what I'm talking about, or hear, whatever. Listen to it. Beautiful people, people. I hope y'all enjoyed me spilling the tricks, techniques, secrets, whatever that I know about making Blxst type beats. I really enjoy his music. It took me a while to get it, but I finally understand that beautiful blend between West Coast hip hop, West Coast bounce, and that bluesiness of R&B that I like, and he does it amazingly well. I didn't get the chance to see him live when he was in the Netherlands, but I hope that he returns soon. And I hope that y'all return to the channel too, beautiful people. I enjoyed making this video. This is the first video of the year, and I promise you there's many more to come. So y'all be easy. Peace.